Full Service Radio is proudly supported and hosted by Simplecast, the easiest way for a podcast creator to publish and distribute audio on the internet. For more information, visit simplecast.com.
Go! Witness.
Full Service Radio.
Peace, everyone, and welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa L. Jones, broadcasting live from the lobby of the Line, D.C. This podcast is where dynamic people of color in the food and agricultural space share their personal food journeys, passions, and perspectives that stem from the land, all exemplifying the spirit of activism in their own edible way. Let's get started. Peace, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Edible Activist Podcast. I am your host, Melissa L. Jones, and I am broadcasting live from the lobby of the Line, D.C. I am so happy to be in front of this mic, everyone, because for the last 3 days I've been trapped inside of a hotel working, and I feel I'm back to myself. Like, this is my element. So I always have awesome guests, and today I have a really cool and dynamic guest today, who is Jonathan Tate, who is an EMT and firefighter with Engine 11 Truck 6. I got that right?
Good morning. Good morning.
And Jonathan is the founder of Food on the Stove, which is an organization that addresses healthy lifestyle management from a holistic perspective, with a focus on dietary nutrition and cardiovascular exercise. Local Food for Local Heroes is an initiative under this organization where they supplement the cost of food while firefighters are at work. Their goal is to patronize local farmers and vendors to minimize the amount of processed goods they purchase from the grocery store. I'm loving this already. Like, this is going to be a good show.
Cool. I'm ready for it.
Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And he is rocking his Food on the Stove shirt.
Better
I want
believe
one. Well, I have my Edible Activist shirt on.
I got you.
That's a dope shirt.
Say no more.
I like that. I meant to bring you a button. I always forget that. Lexi, I always forget to bring buttons. I swear. I was rushing to get out the house today, y'all. I'm not going to even lie. So today on the show, this is what's going to go down for our listeners. We're going to learn about your personal experience, Jonathan, as a firefighter and your prior relationship with food. We're going to educate listeners on the number one cause of death of firefighters. And from field to fire station, we're going to learn how you're creating farm fresh experiences for firefighters to improve the quality of their health. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, Jonathan, tell us about yourself. What led you to become a firefighter, and what was your relationship with food before all this got started?
Okay, well, like you said, my name is Jonathan Tate. I grew up in Northeast Washington, D.C.
Shout out Northeast.
So my relationship with food started probably like any other child in D.C., eating chicken wings and French fries from the carryout, fried rice sometimes, fried wings, fries, mumbo sauce. That's my background. And a lot of fast food. Didn't really know anything about eating healthy. D.C. has always been kind of like a food desert, so every corner or every block you go to is another carryout. So that was pretty much what we ate coming up. My family was, my dad was a firefighter. So he was actually a deputy fire chief in DC Fire and EMS. And he did pretty well for himself. So we didn't lack for anything. So we had steak some nights. We even had lobster some nights. So I was able to taste great food, but what was always accessible was the carryout, and that was my favorite. So yeah, that's
the greasy brown paper bags.
Definitely,
and the
steak
wings.
and cheeses, all that. Anything you can get from the carryout.
I'm not mad.
Yeah.
And as I always say, this is a non-judgmental space, and there's some folks who still go to the carryout.
Oh, no problem.
It's all good.
Everything in moderation. That's
Everything
what we like.
in moderation. So you are a firefighter, and he actually broke down to me like the structure of the responsibilities of a firefighter in an EMT, which I didn't know. But what led you to become a firefighter?
Like I said, my dad spent 32 years with DC Fire and EMS. He came on the job in 1956. He was actually assigned to Truck Company 6, where I'm assigned at now. He was there during the riots in '68. and he saw a lot during his time. So I kind of grew up seeing my dad as a firefighter. Well, actually, I didn't see him as a firefighter. I saw him as a fire chief because he was towards the end of his career. He retired in '89. I was 7 years old when he retired.
Wow.
So I have always kind of been around the occupation of a firefighter. My brother and I used to ride in the firefighter parade that my dad coordinated in D.C. So I was always around it. So lack of opportunities kind of drove me to want to be a firefighter. A lot of kids grow up dreaming about being a firefighter. That wasn't necessarily the case for me. I knew it was an option. And when the opportunity presented itself, I applied and ended up getting hired 5 years after I took the test. It's a very competitive job. A lot of people want it. So when I took the test, it was 6,000 people who actually took the test
Really?
for DC Fire Department. They come from all over. People come from all over to take that test.
That is new.
It's a very sought after job.
Oh my gosh. Jonathan, when did you make the food and health connection?
I didn't really make it. My brother made it for me.
Okay, your brother.
My brother had got into a car accident where a utility pole had fell on his car, and he has always been kind of a big guy. He ended up gaining a lot of weight because he was immobile. He couldn't really move around, and he had a lot of back pain. The doctor told him if he wanted to ease some of his pain, he would have to lose some weight. Then he began to...
The doctor told him that?
The doctor told him that. To take the pressure off your back, you will have to lose some weight.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, right. So he began doing a system, I believe it might have been Nutrisystem or something, which taught him portion control.
Okay.
And the weight just started falling off. And then he began to learn more and more about food. So it wasn't so much of the portion control, it was more so what he was putting in his body. He often likes to say, you can count calories, but you can't count chemicals. So he's
Wow.
looking for what's in the food. How is it being prepared? What's in it? If you can't pronounce the label or an ingredient, you probably shouldn't eat it. So he kind of woke me up to the whole healthy eating thing, and that's my big brother, so I always looked up to him. So
shout out to Big Brother.
Yeah.
He couldn't be on the show today, but he's here in spirit. Shout out.
Yeah, so when he began eating healthy and I saw him doing it and the results from him doing it, I began to eat healthy myself and start paying more attention to what I was eating.
Wow. That is awesome. So you can't count you can count calories, but you can't count
the better saying
chemicals.
is you can burn calories, you can't burn chemicals. That's what he says.
Wow. I mean, both are true.
Yeah, both are true.
Regardless. Right about that. So what does a typical quote unquote unhealthy meal, let's just say meal, look like? Before we even dig into your work and food on the stove and the initiative, what does a typical unhealthy meal look like for a firefighter? Because they are on the job, long hours, and any given moment they have to stop what they're doing, and I'm sure it's just like, let me make sure I take advantage of this pocket of time to just scarf something down and go on to the next.
Yep.
What does that typically look like?
Frozen pizzas, hot dogs, hamburgers, whatever you can throw on the grill quick, because you may get a call and have to run out the door, so you want to cut the grill off. A lot of mashed potatoes.
Oh, wow. Heavy
That's food
heavy.
That sits on your stomach, right?
Yes.
So you would think we would eat a lot lighter, but we typically don't. As firefighters, we eat very heavy because you're there for 24 hours, and it's comfort food. So, meatloaf, spaghetti, a lot of things that will sit on your stomach and cause you to possibly throw up when you actually have a real call.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, you're chugging down all this heavy food, and then you have to run, and you have to climb ladders, and I mean, like, how can you operate? You can't, right?
You can't.
Or you
can't. You just try to will your way through it, to be honest.
Oh my! And you know what? And sometimes when I do pass a firehouse or station, and I'll see, especially like in the summertime or springtime, you'll see firefighters like with the grills out and the hot dogs. And I always used to think it was a neat thing to do, and just like, that's neat that they get together and can have grill food, but. That grilled food. Yeah, everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation. The thing about it is the fire department or fire service has great cooks. There's a lot of great cooks.
Really?
In there. And the food can taste amazing. A lot of food that we eat tastes amazing, but it's not necessarily good for you. And that's what we're trying to address now, the health component to the food that we eat. Let's pay more attention to what we're putting into our bodies.
That's right. That's right. So for those who are just tuning in, this is Melissa L. Jones with the Edible Activist Podcast, broadcasting live from the lobby of the Line DC. I have the wonderful pleasure of sitting here with Jonathan Tate, who is the founder of Food on the Stove, which is this really awesome organization that promotes healthy lifestyles for firefighters, and they have some really awesome initiatives and events that they do, which we're going to get into a little bit later. But he just shared, I wanted to know what his personal experience was with food prior to all of this. His dad was a firefighter, so he followed in the footsteps of his father, and he is in this wonderful profession. And he was also inspired by his brother, who unfortunately was in a car crash some years ago.
Well, utility pole
fell onto his
to jump out.
Oh, wow. That's by the grace of God.
Yeah.
I am so grateful that he is alive.
Exactly who it is.
And his doctor told him that in order for him to, if he wanted to ease the pain, he would have to lose weight, which again, I'm just so shocked that I'm actually grateful that a doctor told him that, because a lot of doctors won't give you that advice. So here we are. Jonathan, what is the number one leading cause of death for firefighters?
The number one cause of death for firefighters is heart disease. And the reason that's so important because, we work a tough job with firefighters. We go into burning buildings that everybody else is running out of. So the thought would be that most firefighters die from burns or getting trapped in a fire. But in all actuality, most firefighters die from a heart attack due to overexertion from fighting that fire. And I believe there's a direct correlation between that heart attack and the food that we put in our body. So I think it's super important that we address why this is happening. It's an epidemic across the country and the whole fire service, and it has yet to be addressed. So that's what Food on the Stove is here for. We want to bring awareness to that. We want to make sure that firefighters are eating healthy and that they have access to things that are healthy. And they also are educated about it.
Are there any, so I would think that as a firefighter, EMT, firefighter, a first responder, there's a lot of trauma that you all can possibly see on any given day.
Definitely.
Do you feel, or do you know, are there any stress related or trauma related reasons as into why the diet may not be as healthy? Again, this could be a thing or not be a thing, like stress eating is real and, PTSD is real, are there any known factors?
Firefighter, we're regular people, right? So we do what everybody else does when they're stressed out. We eat. And then we're there for 24 hours. So we get our hold on bags of chips, cookies, whatever we can get our hold on, our hands on, to make the day go past. Typically, what everybody else does, if they're dealing with something or issue they really don't know how to deal with, they find comfort in something, whether that be alcohol, food, whatever the case may be. And this is also the case for firefighters. While we're at work, like I said, we're there for 24 hours. If you're sitting catching a call between the hours time, you're going to find something to do, and most of that time it may be eating a bag of chips,
nibbling on something. Yeah. So Food on the Stove was created. When did this wonderful organization start? And when did that light bulb go off that said, you know what, this is what we're going to launch and we need to do something now?
Well, let me say Food on the Stove is a God idea.
Wow.
I think they're good ideas, and I think it's a God idea. And I like to say that good ideas are tended to impact you. God's idea is intended to impact others. So when I thought about Food on the Stove, I got on a job. I've been a DC firefighter for about 6 years, going on almost 7 years now. And my dad had multiple heart attacks when he died.
Wow.
Before I got on the job, he had cancer, had multiple heart attacks. So I never thought about it being from the food he might be eating.
Sure.
So when I got on the job and I got to the firehouse that I was assigned to, like I said, the meals tasted great, but some of the things that they were eating, I didn't eat at home. and I wanted to be. The fire department can be a family. It's a brotherhood.
Yeah,
so you sit down, you eat together,
you commune,
together. It's a sign of unity when you sit down and eat with your brothers. And I did that for a moment, but I didn't feel comfortable actually eating the food because I was already knowledgeable due to my brother. I was very knowledgeable about food and how it affects your body and things like that. So I got to the firehouse. I saw how they ate, and just to be a part of the family, I began to eat, but I never was comfortable eating. And after about 2 years, I just couldn't do it anymore. I just was like, the meals, they taste good, but they're not sitting with me right, and I don't eat like this at home, so I'm out on meals. And that can tend to cause some strife in the firehouse, which can be ultimately a good thing because sometimes you need some strife to make a change.
You're right. You're right.
So I just was out on meals, and then I was like, when I found out that heart attacks and heart disease was an epidemic in the fire service, I said, well, somebody has to do something. Why is this a problem? And I correlated it back to food, and I said, well, I want to do something to help firefighters or to stop this. Food on the stove is a double entendre. It's a term that we hear probably daily because food being left on the stove is the number one reason for kitchen fires. And that's how fires normally start, with food being left on the stove. So I use that term to take it back to the firehouse and say we need to pay attention to the food being left on our stove.
Wow.
So we hear that often, so it resonates with firefighters.
That's a God idea, Jonathan.
It's a God idea, right?
That's a God idea.
We formed the organization. Shout out to my wife. Couldn't do it without her.
Shout out to your wife.
My wife, Precious.
Aww.
So we formed that idea, and I told her my vision, and like a good wife does, she was totally behind me.
We make it happen.
Make it happen, right? She's like, what?
We're about those details, man. What?
She's
What's
a project
vision?
manager by trade. So
Precious.
She all over me, making sure I stay on top of things.
And let me tell you, if you all need to go to their website, which also has a blog, which shout out the website name, because I want folks to.
It's foodonthestove.org, foodonthestove.org.
The content is amazing.
Thank you so much.
It is beautiful, and the stories and the videos, you all have got to see this.
Thank you so much.
You guys are doing an amazing, amazing, amazing job. Jonathan, are there any other similar initiatives or organizations or folks who are just like, you know what, man, y'all are doing the daggone thing, who want to tap into what you're doing and want to create like a, not necessarily a spinoff, but, want to collaborate and want to create their own thing, for some of the other engine houses? Or have you?
We've been touching firefighters all over the city. And real quick, I want to go back to how food on the stove ended up being formed. It was a lieutenant who died in the line of duty. His name was Lieutenant Kevin Mcrae. And he had a heart attack while fighting a fire at 1337th Street Northwest. He ran up to the 9th floor. When he came back down, said he needed a break. We actually have a documentary online on our website about it.
I saw that.
Ended up having a heart attack and died. That he was on my shift. Didn't know him very well, as I was a new rookie on the fire department. Met him a few times, a handful of times, but never really had a relationship with him. But it struck me because here it is. That was the first death on the job that I have ever experienced. And it made it real to me, like, oh, wow, you can actually die from doing this job. I knew it, but I never saw it. So when that happened, I knew I had to do something. So that's when we formed Food on the Stove, and we've been pushing hard to try to make sure this doesn't happen again. Of course, that's in God's hands, but we want to make sure we do everything possible to make sure firefighters have the best of everything. They have what they need, the access to food. If we have to supplement the cost for food, we're going to do that. We're going to do whatever it takes to make sure firefighters get what they need, because they're essential to public safety.
Yes.
They're very important. People don't realize that in D.C., our response time is 8 minutes to anywhere in the city, right?
Wow.
And that doesn't happen everywhere in the world. So you have the confidence to know if something happens, you're feeling bad, even if your toe hurts, your tooth could fall out, you can call 911 and somebody's coming to see about you. Those are heroes. Like, those are the people who make us comfortable in our society.
And it's like, you get on the plane, what do they tell you? Put your mask on first before you put your child's mask on. If they're not healthy, They can't help me.
Exactly. Healthy firefighter. We like to say healthier firefighters equate to healthier communities.
Absolutely. And also why this is so important and your mission just to putting a stop to all of this is that it's preventative. The thing that really just, I don't even know what words to say.
But by nature, we're reactive, right?
You are reactive, but what I want to say is that, there are a lot of deaths that occur that can be prevented because of the food that we eat.
Definitely. So that's why we're trying to be proactive about it. Instead of saying when somebody dies, oh, let's try to do something now. Before this happens again, let's try to pay better attention to the food that we eat.
Absolutely. And the documentary that Jonathan mentioned, his son, Lieutenant Mcrae's son, is also in that documentary.
Yes,
right?
He's on the job now. He's actually a firefighter at the same firehouse that his dad was assigned to. He was the lieutenant there. He's on the same shift and works with the same guys that his dad worked with. And
Lieutenant Mcrae's colleagues had, I felt like I knew him because everyone had, they looked up to him.
Yeah, great man.
Everyone looked up to him. They couldn't believe it when he passed away. But I choked up when I saw that documentary, and just to see his son following in the footsteps of his dad, a hero. So you guys got to check that out. All right, folks, we're going to take a really quick break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Perfect Day, produced by Artist Authentic. For more of Authentic's work, visit allornothingstudios.com. Welcome back, everyone. This is Melissa L. Jones with the Edible Activist Podcast, broadcasting live from the lobby of the Line, DC. And I have another edible activist in here, Jonathan Tate of Food on the Stove, who is also a firefighter and EMT who founded this wonderful organization to promote the healthy lifestyles for firefighters. The number one, what I learned during today's show was that the number one leading cause of death for firefighters is heart disease. So his organization is, working very hard to put an end to this and to replace the junk that firefighters eat with healthy meals and just really creating, viable communities within the firefighter system. So thank you for sharing your story with me, Jonathan, and just all that you guys have been doing with Food on the Stove. So a few episodes ago, I hate to say last year because it's only March. We'll be April. So you guys do a number of wonderful things under this initiative within Food on the Stove, and I had Chef Brazil in, who was an awesome chef.
That's my guy right there.
And he talked a bit about the local food. Is it local heroes? Local food? Do I have that back?
Local food for local heroes.
Local food for local heroes, which seemed like this dynamic event that you all hosted. And Chef Brazil, he mastered it, man. He looked like he was killing it with those meals.
Oh, he definitely does. Look, he's a staple around the Firehouse. Everybody talking about him. Like, is he going to be the next one? Is he going to be? You got the same chef coming? So yeah, that's Chef Brazil is the man.
I've had the wonderful pleasure of experiencing like his private dining, fare. So he's great, and I shout out to his wife. I know his wife. So you guys have a number of services that you offer and provide to firefighters. Let's talk a bit about that. And one of the things that you do is events like that, which Chef Brazil was a part of, and just creating these wonderful farm fresh experiences with firefighters.
Sure.
Local food, healthy food.
Yeah, so with local food on Local Heroes, we try to supplement the cost for meals in the firehouse. So how it started is we actually decided to get locally sourced meat, locally sourced produce from small vendors or whoever we can get it from. We use Yes Organic Market, we use Harvey's Market, we use the District Fishwife, which is a local vendor. So that's where we get our fish from. We get our meat from Harvey's, and we take that to the firehouse. And I like to say it's our opportunity to serve those who serve us. They don't wash a dish while we're there. We cook the meal. We cook a 2 to 3 course meal for them where Chef Brazil comes in, prepares the meal. I tell them they don't have to do anything. Kick y'all feet up. Just take your runs when you get a call, because I'm not at work that day, so I'm not taking any runs. So, and they love it. I think it's our opportunity to serve and to show firefighters. We're not just coming in there saying, look, you need to eat this, you need to eat that, or telling you should eat this or eat that. We're actually providing something for you. And I think that opens them up to be willing to listen to them. And that's where my brother, who is the health and nutrition coach, James Tate, he comes in and teaches the firefighters how to read a food label.
Wow.
And I believe that's super important.
It is.
And let me say that the meals that we're getting them, they're not peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Right, of course not.
The best of everything. They had, I think the last dinner they had lamb chops.
I saw that.
What is it? Chard, like he's really creating the menu. It's like chard, Brussels sprouts, and couscous.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, these are things that these firefighters probably can only get at a restaurant. And probably a couple of guys said they never had lamb chops before, and they loved it. So Brazil does a wonderful job with that. But back to my brother, he teaches how to read a food label, and I think that's super important because some people don't understand what a serving size is. What do all these percentages on the back of the label? Because most of us just look at the front label like, oh, that looks good, Caesar dressing. Oh, I'm gonna get some Caesar dressing, and you don't realize that you're like, oh, you turn it on the back, oh, this is only 120 calories, but that's per serving, right?
Right.
So the average size of a serving size for a salad dressing is 120 calories. And that's 2 tablespoons equates to 120 calories. But most people don't use 2 tablespoons of salad dressing. You just dump the bottom all on your salad till you feel like you got it all over.
Saturated.
Right? You saturated the salad. But so the average person uses probably 6 tablespoons of salad dressing, which now puts you at 360 calories. You add chicken and cheese. You thought you were eating healthy, but the salad dressing kind of took you over the top.
And then we have Chef Brazil, who's I'm sure creating like these very from scratch dressings, vinaigrettes,
Definitely.
your garlic, your greens, your lemon, all that.
Very little processed stuff. Like we buy very little processed stuff unless we have to have it. Everything we want to be locally sourced. If we can't get it local, we try to at least get it from a local vendor.
Right.
Because we know salmon isn't running in the Anacostia River, so we get it from.
It sure ain't.
if it did, we wouldn't want it, right?
Nope.
So we get it from at least a local vendor, right? So salmon isn't local. We don't have it here in D.C., but we get it from a local vendor. And back to the food label, a lot of people in the fire service are dealing with hypertension. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
High blood pressure, and sodium is a big thing. Everything has sodium in it to preserve the processed food. So when we look at salad dressing, it may have 11% per serving, and then if you're eating 3 servings,
if you're dumping a whole bottle,
that's just one meal. You're having 33% sodium, and your daily value is only 100. So you're at 33 with a salad. You add chicken and cheese, you might be at 50%. Then you add a soda, you're at 53% or 55%. Before you know it, the average person is probably eating 200% sodium of their daily value of sodium a day. So we're just trying to bring light to that, make firefighters aware. Look, this is what you're doing. You're telling your doctor, oh, I'm eating a salad every day, but you don't realize why your blood pressure isn't going down or why you're still gaining weight. And so we're trying to bring that to light, let you know these are maybe some of the reasons why. This is how you can kind of change it a little bit or monitor it a little bit. And we think that can ultimately help them and aid them in becoming healthier individuals.
Now, are there any like special trips to the grocery store that you all make, like to the market, or is your brother coming in and bringing in just different labels from certain food products?
So one thing that we're very careful about, we don't want to downplay any particular company or anything.
Absolutely.
So we don't attach any names to anything. We just take a generic food label.
Got it.
That's not our style. We don't want to, if people eat whatever fast food they want to eat, that's on them.
That's on them. Absolutely.
We're not trying to guilt you into anything.
I always say food is very, very judgmental.
Definitely.
And you want to create a non-judgmental space. So if folks are still eating what a certain type, that's their prerogative.
Definitely.
You know, this is about educating people.
That's it.
And we don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable at all.
Exactly.
At all. So what are some of the responses from the firefighters about all the many initiatives that you all have going on and these dinners and just coming together too, because this is a team of you guys coming together.
Definitely.
This is so collaborative, and that's why I really like it. It's a collaborative, like everybody is learning, and I'm sure for you all, you're learning every day. It's a learning curve every single day.
Definitely, and that's part of the God idea, I believe. I think for everybody sees the health component of it, right? But in this society, in this society we live in, you have so many things that point out what makes you different, right? And the firehouse is a melting pot. You might have some black people, you got some white people, you might have an Asian in there, not many, but you may have someone of Asian descent. So it's a melting pot, and people bring their political views, whatever, and some things can tend to get offensive. But I like to say that there are two times where firefighters are typically together. That's on the fire ground because they're trying to put out a common goal. They're trying to do something. And at the dinner table, everything kind of goes out the window. And those are when we're most unified. And I believe that where there's unity, God can command the blessing. So that's the underlying vision that I have, is really unifying people. Because you have to be intentional of what makes you the same. What makes us the same as firefighters, whether black, white, Asian, Hispanic, we serve. We go out into the public and we serve, right? So we have to be intentional about saying, look, I may not agree with you on this, but one thing I do agree with is that I care about other people. I want to see when we run a fire call, we want to put this fire out and make sure we all go back home to your family. Because when you put that mask on, it ain't no color, right? It's a smoke-filled environment. We don't see none of that. So that's one thing I'm intentional about, is unifying people. Food on the stove is about food, but it's also about unification.
I love it. I love it. Are there has anybody brought back any like health reports, saying, my blood pressure has gone down, or like, has there been any of that?
Not really. Okay. I mean, we're in the infancy stages, right?
Okay.
And one of the things we do for local food, for local heroes, is that makes the whole unification thing kind of sweet, is that when we first did it, we did it at my firehouse. And Engine 11, shout out to Engine 11.
Shout out Engine 11. Truck 6. You got to say like Engine.
In the city. Best truck company in the city, in case anybody forget. So we took it to our firehouse, and my guys were super adamant about donating. That was never the intention. We never wanted to take money from firefighters. It was just, how can we give to firefighters, right? So they said, look, man, we want to give a donation. So I told them, look, all right, if you want to donate, you pick the next firehouse we're going to go to, but it just can't be on your shift. or in your battalion. When I say on your shift, we have 4 shifts in DC, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
I'm on shift 4. So they will have to pick a shift that's not theirs and not in their battalion. It's 6 battalions in DC. So they're separated by different areas of the city. So they said, okay, cool. And in my mind, I thought that would be a great way to look out for the brother that you don't normally work with, right? So they have to pick somebody that works way in Southeast. You work in Northwest. You work way in Southeast, and you're given to them. So when we go to the dinners, we say, look, where this dinner was provided by Engine 11 Truck 6, and they wanted to give this to you. So we prepare that meal, and it's kind of bringing the brotherhood back together, right? So, but we haven't heard any reports of any blood pressure dropping, but it is bringing awareness. What we want to do is start the conversation.
Absolutely.
We can
and I'm sure it's happening.
Oh,
definitely. I'm sure that, the health is improving. I know that it's happening. So I was just wondering if there were like any praise reports or anything.
No, but every dinner we've gone to.
But the awareness is key, though.
Definitely. Somebody will pull my brother to the side and say, hey, I've been dealing with X, Y, and Z. And one of the things we offer is free nutrition consultation for every firefighter. And right now, that's online. So if you go to Food on the Stove and you want a nutrition consultation, he'll create you a custom menu. He'll sit and talk to you. If he has the time, he'll actually meet you at a grocery store so you can do a grocery store tour.
That is so wonderful.
And all that is free to firefighters, right? So I believe we'll begin to get the praise reports and that firefighters' blood pressure will come down.
Absolutely.
But I think the most important thing right now is bringing awareness to it and at least starting a conversation. One of the reasons that we did the documentary on Lieutenant Mcrae is because when someone dies in the line of duty in the fire service, it's a huge thing, right? People had come from as far as New York, Ohio to this funeral. It was probably over 10,000 people at his funeral because the fire service is a brotherhood. And people came from all over. And when someone dies in the line of duty, especially if it's a fire-related death, we talk about it. We do trainings on it. We go on and on and on about it. Like, how do we prevent this from happening again? Sad to say, when Lieutenant Mcrae died, we didn't really have that conversation. And I really don't think it was any ill will towards it. But as the department, they didn't really know how to address. How do you address to 1,700 members how not to die of a heart attack?
Right, exactly.
That's kind of tough to have that conversation, right?
Yeah.
So Food on the Stove said, look, we're going to insert ourselves in here and we're going to make people have the conversation because we too many firefighters are dying from heart attacks. Let's have that conversation. And we decided to do a documentary. We are remodeling the gym for them. If I could segue into this, if you don't mind, because I'm gonna just start rambling.
This is your show. This ain't mine. Look, it is like my show. It is my show, but this is about you. Passion, right? So, I can feel it.
Yeah. So we're actually remodeling a gym and dedicating it to Lieutenant Mcrae on his line of duty death date, which is May 6th. He died May 6, 2015. This May 6, 2019, we're putting a state-of-the-art gym in the firehouse where he last served.
Oh my gosh.
So they're currently right now at the firehouse painting a mural with his face on it. We got him custom flooring, so all the flooring has been ripped out. They're getting recessed lightings, and we recently did a fundraiser at on March 16th where we raised over $20,000.
Wow.
To be put to that to the gym dedication. So
that's wonderful.
That's been going.
Y'all, please check out their website, because the work that they are doing is so dynamic, and I was just blown away. I really just was blown away.
That's amazing.
And
I'm
it's
glad.
So touching.
And it's
really
a lot of content.
So touching.
Thank you so much. There's a lot of content on there for you to view. A lot of videos. We video every local food for local heroes dinner. And we're still accepting donations.
Yes, donate.
We're still accepting donations on our website. If you want to donate to the Lieutenant Mcrae Gym dedication, you can go to foodonthestove.org, hit the donate button, whether it's $1 or $1,000.
Whatever you can do.
Whatever you can do.
Absolutely.
So on May 6th, we're going to unveil the gym. His son is going to cut the ribbon. And I think that's going to be a huge thing for the fire service. I think that shows that we're willing to invest in ourselves and invest in our own health. A lot of people look at it as, oh, they're remodeling the gym. I look at it as, we're changing lives, right?
Absolutely.
Because I think across the fire service, more people will be hearing about what we did for Lieutenant Mcrae to honor a hero, but also, so we're remembering him, but it's also a reminder to each and every one of us to make our health a priority.
Absolutely.
So that gym will stand the test of time. It will be there at the firehouse he last served.
And you said, and I do need to wrap up in just a minute, but I think I was on your Instagram page because I stalk everybody before they come to my show, and I like to learn about people. It's like a rolling joke. I stalk people, but you had posted a photo of your dad. It may have been some while ago, but you just talked about how long he was in service, and then when he passed away, his pension got cut. Correct?
Big thing.
And because your mom was so much younger than him, she didn't. It wasn't the full pension wasn't extended to her. It got cut even drastically.
Yeah.
And you said like the biggest investment, like is your retirement, but it's your health.
It's your health. Like what I would do to have my father here right now, you know what I mean, seeing what I'm doing with the fire service. But if he had invested as much into his own health as he did my brother and I, he might still be here. It's a possibility he might still be here. To work somewhere for 25 years and to die 9 years after you retire. And he was sick most of that 9 years. He didn't really get to enjoy it, right? So we want to make sure that another 15-year-old boy doesn't have to deal with that. Because that was the first time I probably heard no. My dad used to always, if I was doing good in school or playing basketball, my dad was like, hey, what you need? You want tennis shoes? Because he had it. He was like, here, go get yourself some tennis shoes. Just continue to do what you're supposed to do, and I'm going to take care of you. And then once that pension got cut, because we get 80% if you work 32 years. It got cut in half to 40% because he died, which is still a great amount for my mother to live off of, but she's 18 years younger than my dad. So for every year, it was a percent. So you went from 80 to 22%. The lifestyle that he created for us is now gone. How do you operate off from 80 to 22?
Exactly.
And my mother couldn't do some of the things that my father was used to doing for us. So no was said a lot more often. And growing up in D.C. at the time, it was a lot of things I could get into to get my own money. So it had that. All that ties back to health, right? If you're taking better care of yourself, you're here for your family to make sure you're the covering that you're supposed to be. So that's huge. I believe that's huge going forward.
Where can everyone find Food on the Stove on social media?
Oh, you can find Food on the Stove at Local Food, Local Heroes. On Facebook, we're not even on Facebook. We're on YouTube, Food on the Stove.
Okay, cool.
Facebook is my personal little.
We leave personal media social handles out of here. Okay.
I just utilize that to post my family, joke about my daughter.
Right. And the website again? The
website is foodonthestove.org. So that's foodonthestove.org.
All right. Y'all make sure to check it out and support, please, if you can. And we got some dynamic brothers doing some amazing things. So, all right. So, Jonathan, before we close out on my shows, we do a really quick rapid fire.
Come with it.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Right. What is your favorite leafy green?
Kale. Spinach.
I like spinach.
I like spinach.
I love spinach.
I like spinach in my smoothie.
Ooh, yes. Smoothie time. Sweet, spicy, sour, or salty?
Spicy.
I knew you were going to say spicy. I don't know why. I just knew. What is your favorite fruit?
Mangoes. A mango or mangoes.
What's cooking in your pot these days? Literally.
Okra.
Okra?
Okra.
All right, okra.
A lot of fish on the grill, whole fish on the grill. I love okra.
I love okra. Is like one of my favorites. And I eat it also. I can eat it fried, broiled, baked, sauteed.
Yeah, sauteed okra for me is like a staple in my house. My wife is from Africa, so.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's from
okay.
Ghana.
Okay. She's from Ghana?
She's from Ghana.
Oh, God.
Shout out to Ghana.
Shout out to Ghana, man. Is she a heavy cook? Does she cook a lot?
No, I do most of the cooking.
You do most of the cooking?
But she likes okra.
Okay.
I'm a better cook, but.
Okay. And one way someone can channel their inner edible activism.
I think it starts with you. I mean, you gotta be the change you want to see. If you want to be an activist, you got to do something.
Absolutely.
put the right things on your plate first before you start telling other people what to do.
You better say it. You better say it. It has been an absolute pleasure having you. This has been so much fun. So much fun.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I am so grateful and wish your brother could have been here, but he was here in spirit. Next time. Next time.
If you'll have us back, we'll definitely make sure his schedule permits for him to be here.
Absolutely. All righty. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We are here live on Full Service Radio every Wednesday at 11 a.m. and you can access each episode after it airs on iTunes and Spotify. You can also catch today's show on fullserviceradio.org, which is home to some really cool podcasters. Everything from arts, music, culture. Check them out, guys. Also follow me at Food Talks DC on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Are you an edible activist? I'm sure you are. Come join me on the show. I would love to feature you. Just shoot me a DM on Instagram. Thanks and have a wonderful day. Peace, everybody.